Can I ask one quick question?
Of course.
Are only the people that are speaking here on video?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If I understood your question correctly, as far as those who are attending?
Right.
Yes,
Well,
there's a box, there's one entry that says iPhone with no video. I don't know who that is. And then David Bruchek hasn't turned his video on correctly.
You see mine? No?
No, we see your name, but not you.
Oh, maybe it is turned. Oh yeah, it's turned off. I got it.
Okay. Oh, now we have, okay.
Now you can see me?
Well, I see
I see your beard. There you are.
Perfect.
Yeah, I gotta get this set up here. Sorry.
Oh.
There we go. I
That's
see
all.
what
Well,
we're all right.
thank you very much. We're going to get this thing rolling so that we can have a really good conversation. And I know it's already past 7 for you late Central Time folks. I'm Deanna Golden, and I'm outside of Phoenix, Arizona. And Judy, you know, is in Wisconsin. And we have Santa Nana's Holiday University. Please tell me that you can all see the screen that has our splash page on it. Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Wonderful.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we want to start by saying thank you to Maureen. We invited her to attend one of the webinars that we did starting in May, during May and June and into July, for virtual visits, this new landscape that we're trying to navigate across the Christmas community. And Maureen attended one of them and thought that it would be a good opportunity to have her clients come in and hear the conversation and be a part of this. So that's why this is happening today. So we're going to talk about that. And Maureen, if you had any opening remarks you wanted to make before we got started?
Yes, real quick. Since this is a free webinar on Zoom, Deanna only has 40 minutes. So what's going to happen is about 8 minutes before the 40 minutes, she's going to get a warning. So when she says to you that time is up, it's going to shut off. What you need to do is just click on the link again and we'll get another 40 minutes, okay?
And I have my fingers crossed that that's not going to happen. Judy and I tested a meeting earlier and it went well past 40 minutes. So we're all crossing our fingers because that maybe Zoom has temporarily lifted that. But thanks for bringing that up again, Maureen, because we may have to do like a break and come back in a minute. So fingers crossed. Okay. So let's spend just like a minute telling you about Santa Nana's Holiday University. You recognize Judy and me there. And the beautiful woman on the right is Santa Nana. Lucky Royce was her name. And she was an incredible solo female performer for over 20 years. She started in Colorado. She moved to Phoenix, which is where I met her. Judy met her on a trip to Colorado once. And Lucky saw the need for education across the Christmas community, but more from a female point of view. There weren't a whole lot of education opportunities for Mrs. Clauses or female elves or anyone other than Santa, with Mrs. Claus workshops being added as like an addition and a kind of an, in many cases early on, an afterthought. So she put together an outline for an education program that might be for women, but was really helpful for both everyone in the Christmas community, Santas, Mrs. Clauses, elves, everybody. And it looks at education from a lady's point of view. So she put that together and she launched that in 2016. And I was privileged to be a part of that, of her inaugural class. Unfortunately, she passed away in July of 2016. And before she passed, she entrusted Santa Nana's Holiday University to Judy and me. And so that we have kind of kept that going forward. So when you get the emails and with the website and with the Facebook page, everything that you see there is based on the vision that she set forward based on her 20 plus years of experience. So it was worth, if you have not known her or hadn't heard of her, it was important to kind of know why we're doing this and what the heck is standing in this holiday university. With that, we are in very strange times, and there's a lot of hesitation, a lot of concern, a lot of question about what's going to happen this Christmas season. And we wanted to take a look at virtual visits, not so much as an alternative, but for many of us, a new opportunity to see how we could actually do our visits with our families, with our clients, with new clients along the way. You know, and as you've seen since this crazy time started earlier this year, so many different organizations have really taken on virtual visits and really embraced it. Newscasts, schools, medical visits. So even these kinds of webinars here, we're doing everything remotely now. And so why can't we apply that to the Christmas community? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We want this to be a conversation. So we're going to brainstorm on what does it take. A lot of the how is going to depend on the what decisions that you make about how you go about doing this. So we want to brainstorm on what it really takes to transition from in-person to virtual visits. And we've put together 10 steps that will help you master a virtual visit so that you will be fully prepared, camera ready, when you're ready to click Zoom or whatever software that you're going to end up using. Because we don't want to let technology intimidate us. There's a lot of things that are out there. There's a lot of sophistication and complexities, and it doesn't have to be. So we can keep this as simple or as sophisticated as you choose to make it. We'll talk about some of those things. So we want to start with asking you a question, and you can unmute yourselves and just answer the question, what concerns you the most about a virtual visit this year? It might be the technology, it might be how do you have that meaningful interaction over a camera? How much will I charge for this? What do I do? You know, I can't have a child sitting on my knee. So what do I do? How do I pass out gifts? Maybe it's something else. So what are some of your concerns?
Mine's the meaningful interaction. And the how do you get in touch with the kids?
Mm-hmm. Right. Thanks, Tim. And we're going to talk about that. What are some of your other concerns?
I think pretty much everything that you said is a concern. You know, from the interaction to the technology aspect to the, you know, just virtually everything, and how difficult I think it will be just to have a meaningful visit with kids when you're looking at them on a monitor, you know, and they're looking at you on a monitor. I know we don't have a choice, but I think right now it's going to be a real steep learning curve.
And we're going to try and make that learning curve not so steep. You won't need a ladder.
And Norma Jean wants to know, she's concerned on how she will know that her equipment works properly and making it work properly for a visit.
And that we're going to cover that with one big word called rehearse with the family. Practice and test that out with the family. Before we go on, I want to make sure that when you got the emails, did you all get this attachment with the 10 steps kind of mapped out so you could make notes along the way? You don't have to write down everything that we're going to be going over on the slides that you're going to see, because we're going to send that out to you afterwards. So if there's anything that comes out of the conversation that you want to make a note of, that's what you can use this for, anything that you want to recall. But if it's on the slide, don't worry about it. We're going to share that with you. Anyone else with a concern that is here or is not listed?
basically what everybody else said. I'm still relatively new to Zoom. I mean, I think everybody else is too. They haven't, we didn't start until April, when this all started going.
Right.
And it's just a matter of not looking like a putz doing it, I mean, that's basically it. You don't want to look stupid doing it.
And the beautiful
Exactly.
part about that, Mike, is that now is the time to start practicing and testing it out and trying it out and getting familiar with all of the different features, especially if you're going to use the free Zoom, which is what this meeting is. And to be honest with you, I have attended several Zoom meetings. This is the first one that I have created and scheduled. And so if I can do it, it'll be a piece of cake.
So, Sylvia and Steve, do you have a question?
No.
I'm trying to figure out why we can't see the rest of the Zoom people and we can't see us. Can you see us?
Yeah, actually, I did, at least when you signed in. Let me look.
I think you have to.
Okay, I know how to do that. So move your mouse across the bottom of the screen.
Okay, I'm on an iPad, so that doesn't work.
Oh,
What am I looking for?
anything that says participants.
We do this all the time, so I don't know why it isn't working, but it isn't now. So
I'm on an iPad also, and all I see is 4 images. I know there's probably at least 10 or 12 people on here, but I'm only seeing
we see
4.
you.
Yeah.
Okay,
We see you, David.
Yeah.
We see
so
you.
David, if you click on the corner of the 4 people, you might find a down arrow that you can.
You can scroll, just like a photo gallery.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm sure that some of your hesitations and concerns we're going to address. Over our
There's
conversation.
iPhone. Hi.
Okay. So these are the 10 steps, and we're going to talk about each one of them, some in more detail, and some of them we're going to gloss over. But these are the 10 steps. We're going to talk about choosing your platform.
Oops, sorry. Deanna, I accidentally muted you.
How about now?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, great.
I did not mean to do that, but I did.
That's okay. So we're going to start with talking a little bit about choosing your service or the platform that you're going to use, and then some of the equipment that you're going to need to help establish your online presence. We'll talk a little bit about marketing. We'll talk about how to have that meaningful interaction with your catalog of virtual friendly activities. We'll talk about the things that you'll need to do to plan with the family about how this visit is going to take place. We have a worksheet that you have and that we're going to send again with mapping the visit so that you know what you're going to do in what order, especially because these online visits are likely to be significantly less in time than your standard in-person visit. We'll talk about creating the environment like we have here and rehearsing, which includes practicing with the family to make sure your equipment works. We'll talk about planning the photos, how you can pass out gifts when you're 50 miles away or 100 miles away or even next door, and those chats to have those meaningful conversations. We'll talk a little bit about pricing, and then the one thing that everything we do anyway is the follow-up. So those are our 10 steps. And I need to scroll. Okay, there are a lot of service platforms out there right now. We're on Zoom right now. There's Skype, there's Messenger, there's WebEx, there's GoToMeeting, there's FaceTime, there's all of these other things that are out there. And a lot of what you choose, we're going to go over some questions about this on the next slide, but there are also 4 agencies that we're aware of now that are exclusively virtual visit. You've heard of, oh, there it is. Oh, look at this. Running out of time. We've removed the 40-minute time limit on your group meeting. Thank you, Zoom. So you might have heard of Talk to Santa, Hello Santa, Welcome Santa. And they're the kind of agency where families will go and reserve a time slot, and they book and they hire Santas, and they're paid based on either per visit And there's a new kit in town now called Jingle Ring. They just announced last week that they're another one. They're out of Alpharetta, Georgia. And so we'll share the links to these things if that's one of the ways to go, where you don't have to worry about the platform. Many of them, like Talk to Santa, they provide the camera. Jingle Ring provides the laptop. And all of that. So there's a lot of different options, but here are some of the questions that you're going to want to think about when you choose your provider. First of all, is it secure? You know that when Zoom, first of all, became very, very popular, there were a whole lot of concerns. They have since added a boatload of security, including what we've done on this one, where there's a waiting room. And so no one can get into this meeting that Judy doesn't allow to come in. You want to make sure that it's secure so that you don't get the Zoom bombing that you hear about. The length of sessions, especially with this free version, like Maureen mentioned, and I just saw the message that our 40 minutes was coming up, but Zoom has removed it. That won't be forever. Some of the things you're going to want to ask is, are there limits to how many people can attend? Oftentimes, your visit is going to be one camera here and one camera there, but we have 12, 13, 14 people here. What if the family you're dealing with wants to have Uncle Bobby in Pittsburgh and Aunt Josie from Sacramento? You want to make sure that it's compatible to do multiple things. If you need an account, or if your participants need an account, and is it compatible? You may find that as much as you like Zoom, or as much as you like WebEx or something else, that your family will have another preference. And today is a good example. Maureen asked that we use Zoom. And because we've done our webinars in WebEx and we've done them, in Skype. So this is Maureen's preference. So you may have the same kind of thing to think about with the family. And then the final question is whether or not you have to pay for it. There are a lot that are free and they have limitations, but you have to look at the budget, and most of them start at about $15 a month if you want to do that. Questions about this? Questions about the questions? Okay, I can't see you because I'm looking at the slides here that we're going over. So unmute yourself if you need.
Oh, there, sorry.
Oh, no, okay.
Okay, so around the town entertainment is if you want to do virtual visits, with jobs, I'm telling my customers that we're working solely with Zoom. So, Zoom would be a good thing to familiarize yourself with.
Great, thanks, Maureen. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the equipment. And this is, you're going to hear all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure that you already have, about all of the different things that you're going to need to have an awesome, awesome online presence and virtual visit. And I want to make sure that you know it can be as simple or as complex or as sophisticated as you choose to make it. But some of the things, like I'm using an external camera right now. I'm using the laptop's microphone. I'm using an external camera. The external cameras are far better than the camera on your laptop. Your phone has a better camera than your laptop. Your tablet likely has a better camera. So if you want to create, a really good image, and the one that I'm using is still not the best, but you want to think about an external camera and mic so that you don't have to be like right next to it, and you might be able to have some movement and walk around and still be heard and seen. Cameras are—
For example, I have a brand new, just bought since the first of the year, HP, and I'm on it right now, and you can see how faded I am with a regular camera. I was holding up my external camera I have, but I did not attach it today.
Mm-hmm.
So I am very washed out, and it's very disappointing when you spend that much money on a new computer. But this is something to look out for and consider.
Can I ask, when you use an external camera,
Mm-hmm.
like what do you do? Just face
It
it
has-
at you?
It will come with a USB port. If I show you mine, it'll disconnect the camera, but it'll come with a USB port that just plugs into the side of the laptop. And it attaches to the top of the laptop screen. It's portable, so it just kind of clips onto the top. And so I'm not there. Can you still see me in the corner?
I can also verify that too. I mean, I've used my laptop for Zoom, and it's amazing how washed out and unclear the picture is.
Yes.
And compared to an iPad, which is actually pretty sharp and just looks good. So.
Yes. And I think that was part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that you want to think about is earbuds. You can, if I really want to hear you well, I'm going to put these on. Now, is that what I really want to do a virtual visit with, wearing these big, gamer headphones with a fantastic microphone? So you want to think about, and this is going to be part of the testing, you could also use these, earbuds like this that is nice for Santa's to hide within the beard, or Mrs. Claus's to hide behind the collar and, hide behind the hair and whatever. And still, some of these work really well, unless you have a really good quality microphone built into whatever device you're using. So you want to think about that. And the backdrop and the background, if I move too fast, I get headless, right? Because I'm using a virtual screen. So you're going to hear a lot about OBS, Open Broadcast Software. It's the green screen. And there are a lot of shops out there selling them, and there's a lot of people talking about them. And you can do amazing things with OBS to have more animated, more engaging backgrounds. But don't.
What are you calling it? What are you calling it?
It's called OBS,
Okay.
Open Broadcast Software.
Okay.
It's the green screen.
Or blue screen.
Or the blue screen. So when you see the weather person on the news and they're pointing to the map of the United States, they're standing in front of a green screen, and that background is projected.
Okay.
So OBS is this new technology. It's not new. It's been around for a long time, but a lot of the Christmas community is getting very interested in it, because you can have, like, oh my gosh, a real burning fire and not just a backdrop, a static backdrop of a fire that has flame but isn't moving. You could have elves walking across. You could have twinkling lights. You could have, a whole lot more animation. You could have layers upon layers. And the more you want to do to make that OBS and that background really, really cool, the more investment you're going to put into it as well. And while that can be great, never lose sight that the visit is not in the backdrop. The visit is the interaction and the conversation that you're having. Not to say that OBS can be really cool. So what are you thinking about backdrops? Are you going to set up a place in your house, put it in front of the Christmas tree, do it from your own workshop that you're going to add more Christmassy stuff? What are your thoughts about backdrops?
Unmute yourself and speak up.
Actually, I haven't even thought about backdrops yet.
Okay.
You know what? I have a little bit of experience with backdrops, and I just started toying with them though a little bit, as far as doing like a Zoom. And you can see the backdrop I have here. Well, this is a virtual. I took a picture of it, and I'm just doing it virtual right now. But I actually had this set up, and I did a couple of videos with that backdrop. I already know that there's some issues with it, because backdrops come in different shapes and sizes, and you got to like take into consideration your camera and the wide angle or whatever of your camera. And sometimes it's hard to fit a backdrop into your camera. So, I mean, you might have to do a lot of toying around, maybe doing some special blocking. Maybe you have to like make sure, like, for instance, I'll just say a lot of backdrops are, they're not very wide, but they're real tall. Okay. But
Yeah.
your camera is like wide and not very tall. So, you know, you're clipping off, you know, top and bottom. At the same time, you're taking in stuff on the sides. That's it, whatever's in your room, you know. So you're better off, like, say, with a horizontal type of a backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
It'll fit your camera better. But now I don't know about external cameras. Maybe you have more versatility with an external camera to pick up on that. Okay. But this one, I had to really chop this background down. I had to like move my computer real close. Otherwise, it was chopping off all over the place, you know, just to get it to fit into the picture. You know?
And then some of the issues with that then end up being like, is it then to scale with where you're sitting compared to what the backdrop is? All of a sudden now you're completely out of proportion to what the backdrop is. So these are some of the things that you want to play around with. Some of the people that we've been speaking with, they're converting a room in their house to Christmas year round, and they're going to put the tree up. They're going to put a table in, a desk. They're going to put they're building bookshelves with all of these things, and so it's going to be a permanent spot for them to have, you know, to have all of their Christmas stuff.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. So, but you know, a backdrop is a great thing. But again, you want to think about, oh, this is a cool backdrop. Oh, it has a clock in it, and the clock is going to stay at noon for the entire length of my visit. So it's, you know, the devil's in the details, right?
Yeah.
Actually, Around the Town Entertainment kind of prefers a live background. You know, this way then you can avoid all those kind of techie problems, and as long as it looks nice though, you know.
Yes.
So
You know,
just
the
throwing it
beauty,
out there, and it's
The beauty
cheaper.
about the backdrop is you can be pretty versatile with it. I mean, I've got a backdrop that's an outdoor setting.
Mm-hmm.
I've got several that show you in front of a fireplace and a Christmas tree, and I've got this one that's a workshop. You know, the workshop's kind of cool because at this time of year, I'm playing around with when I did the videos. I could tell, like, hey, boys and girls, here's Santa. I'm up at the North Pole right now, you know, sitting in my workshop, you know, and, you know, you can kind of give that impression, you know.
Right.
You know, you have a different look. You know, it's a different look.
Exactly. And you know, and then you're going to have to dress to match the backdrop and all.
Exactly.
So it's all tied in. So these are the things, you know, think about the equipment that you need. But another consideration that we keep seeing, let's go back to the external camera. A $50 camera, external camera, really nice one. There was a Logitech camera, used to be about maybe $50 or $60. It's now over $120 and going up, because everybody that's been moving over to remote and online work, all the businesses, you're setting people up.
Yeah.
You're going to see prices skyrocketing for all of these things that used to be very affordable or more affordable. And then the other thing that I'll just point out on this one very quickly is a tripod. If you have a tablet or you're going to use your phone for this, you know, you don't want to be holding it and be moving it around and be very shaky. So you can get these really cool tripods that will hold a laptop, I mean, not a laptop, either a phone or a tablet. And they start at like $15, $20. So that's something that you want to add, that stability. Okay. Other questions or comments about equipment?
You know, these green screens are great. There's all kinds of different, I've got about 15 different virtual backdrops and haven't paid for one of them. Hallmark has got a bunch of pictures that you can copy or backdrops you can copy. The green screen works slick.
How,
they're not
unless you're wearing green.
What's that?
I said, unless you're wearing green. Unfortunately, we did a green screen.
Then your hand just shows up.
We did a green screen with my my granddaughter's Christmas program a couple of years back now already. And I'm from Wisconsin, as you guys know. And so half the kids were wearing Green Bay Packer shirts. which means we suddenly had elves. So we had floating heads with a big gold G, and everything else was gone. And you saw like people sledding through the kids' chest and everything else like this. And I, as a Mrs. Claus, frequently wear a green vest.
You
So,
don't,
so that fades into nowhere. So a blue screen usually I'm told will help with that. I personally have not tried virtual backgrounds. We were playing with them, Deanna and I were, a little while ago, and we're having a great deal of fun. But my concern is what happens if all of a sudden there's a glitch and suddenly children, you're talking to children and all of a sudden it's just you and a blue or green background.
Yeah,
It's just,
Nora's
something
free. Nora's not liking that idea. So yeah, they're all of these things to consider. You know, on top of which, because OBS is an additional software that you have to put onto your computer, as we get, many of us have probably already experienced competing bandwidth. All of a sudden, the internet is like creepy slow because everybody's trying to use it. So, you know, it's just one of many things to go into your decision about what you need to create that presence to have a good visit.
And YouTube is a place to go to. You can learn to do just about anything with YouTube nowadays.
Okay. So let's talk.
Questions were how to do.
Let's talk a couple minutes about marketing. Things that you're already doing, you just want to do, but now what you're really doing with virtual visits is that you're building your skills and you're building your unique value to the Christmas community and to all of the clients that are out there. And if you're concerned and hesitant about what's going to happen this Christmas season, you know darn well the families are too. So we need to start marketing ourselves to let them know that here's what we're doing. Here's how we can still have that visit. Here's how you can still have your children visit with Santa. Here's how you can still get a picture, even if it's a screen print, a screenshot. So the first one up here, I just put in, you know, your agent and business manager. And this is part of where Maureen can come in and advertise that Around the Town Entertainment is working with Christmas performers who are happy to do virtual visits. If you're updating your business card, and you're listing, I do parades, I do photo shoots, I do family visits, I do all of these things, make sure virtual visits is now included. The same thing on all of your other places, and contact last year's clients. The last thing on this list is to consider, and you can do this on your phone or you can do it on your laptop or your tablet, just reverse the camera and videotape yourself with like 30 seconds to show people how you come across on camera. It can be on any topic because the hidden message is, I'm on camera now and I can be on camera in December. And send that, post it to your Facebook page, put it on your website if you have a website built. And 30 seconds, a minute tops of you in character talking about what you're doing for the summer, wishing everybody well, hope to see you in December. Some idea, what are you doing now? What are you currently doing for marketing, and how can we transition that into marketing yourself as virtual?
I know that Maureen is starting to advertise already on her site that she is going to be offering virtual visits.
One of
She hasn't done it now, she will be.
No, it is. I put up you, Bill, and Dave. You guys don't know it yet. I just did that today because I figured you guys are the first ones that have the backgrounds. So it's a rush. You guys, come on, work on this so I can get you guys your pictures on my website.
Now is the time to do it. I mean, we're coming out of Christmas in July. Many Santas and Mrs. Clauses have already done virtual visits as part of Christmas in July, and, you know, getting out there, checking in with the families, even doing like a pro bono visit to just kind of establish that connection, which is also another way of testing your equipment. But I'll share with you what Santa Bob Bulick and Jocelyn Whitney out of Tulsa, what they do. Santa Bob, he goes around from his computer. He visits a lot of Facebook pages of local businesses. It might be your favorite restaurant, your auto repair shop, whatever, grocery store, retail store, anything like that, little tourist area, anything like that. He'll go onto their Facebook page and he'll say, oh, Santa Bob was in town and had lunch at Route 66 and had a great time. And so now not only is the business page getting visibility and promotion, he is. And he has gotten a lot of work by putting a comment on a local and liking a local business page under his name, Santa Bob. I love that idea. Other things that you're doing, or any of these that you think will help get your name out there as a virtual visitor?
Okay, I can tell you that I have found out one thing, and that is for applying for Jingle Ring, is that you are going to have a professional headshot, a professional full body shot, and a video introduction, as well as, and they would prefer an entertainment resume as well, just so you are prepared.
Do you all have an entertainment resume, or have you seen one before? No. When you get an email from me with the rest of this, I will include a sample of an entertainment resume. You probably did one in your workforce, and you said where you worked, where you went to school, what your skills are, all of those kinds of things. Well, think about that as your Christmas portrayal. What education have you done? And you can put this down as education. What are some of the types of events that you do? It's just an expansion of your business card. And I will send that to you. Entertainment.
You've got mine too, don't you, Deanna?
I do. I'll send you both of them. It's one-page resume so that they know who you are and what they're getting as a Christmas performer. Wonderful. Okay, so marketing. Get your creative juices flowing about how to get your name out there and let people know that you have a new set of skills. What am I going to do at this visit? So many things. This is the brunt of the brainstorming about what you're doing now and how we can transition that and how it can adapt to a virtual visit. What's one of the activities that you do now in an in-person visit that you see being able to be done virtually? I'm going to put Jordan on the spot. Can you unmute yourself, Jordan, and give us your idea?
Yep. Storytelling is definitely one of them.
And storytelling comes with a backstory. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Hold that thought, Judy. Yes, storytelling, yes. Nora?
Oops, I'm sorry, Nora. I wish I could hear her.
I know, you'll have to tap that in the chat.
Nora.
Oh, how fast of a typer are you?
Oh, she's telling Maureen. Okay, so while that, Tony, how about you?
Your wife reads.
My wife reads a story.
Reads a storybook. Okay, hold that thought.
Yes.
Okay, Wayne, how about you?
Oh, magic. Anybody know magic?
Magic.
I was muted there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Wayne.
Okay. What I had been doing last year was a dramatic rendition of A Visit from St. Nicholas.
Oh, nice.
Which seems to work out. Now, dramatic is in quotes, but you know.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house.
And you just disappeared. With your background,
Yes,
parts of your arms just disappeared.
Don't quit your day job, Deanna.
thank you. I won't. So there are a lot of things. Mrs. Claus's, how do you see cookie decorating? With you on one side with a set of cookies and frosting and sprinkles, and the children on the other side with the same kind of cookies, the same decorations, and you have this conversation decorating cookies or putting together gingerbread houses. This is part of also what you're going to do with planning with the family, and this can also tie into where to find the gifts that Santa's elves have left, about a scavenger hunt. Definitely magic came up. Judy, you want to talk about the story reading and what Jocelyn has done?
Okay. So it was brought up when we started talking to a couple people who were librarians and teachers that librarians and teachers have been given a release, but it was posted by one of the well-known person, and it was through Penguin and Random House, and they have literally written out that if you do a story and it goes and you're doing it live on Facebook, for instance, it's automatically recorded and you are required to erase that after 30 minutes. It cannot be saved and used. The big catch here in copyright is that you're getting paid. So the question is whether or not you will get in trouble for copyright laws or not. Some things are public domain because of their age, 70 years after the person dies. But if it was just recently published and the pictures are new, then those pictures are not part of the public domain. They are copyrighted. And most of the time, I have written to Random House twice. I've never gotten a reply from them. But most of the time, we are assuming that if you contact them and tell them that you are a Santa or a Mrs. Claus or an elf, and because of the situation, you are doing virtual visits and you would like to give them credit for their book, but you really would like to read The Christmas Mouse or The Santa Pirate or The Night Before Christmas or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and see what happens. We know that there have been some really strange lawsuits brought against people that are advertised that it's like, I can't believe that they, did this, but it happens. So it's something that we have to be careful of and we have to really work on. Now your dramatic rendition, I am assuming then that means that you don't need to have a book. And it sounds wonderful because then if it's in your own words, you have nothing to worry about. Some of the stories now, she mentioned Bob Bullock and Jocelyn Whitney. They are part of the Santa community and they have written a book. And they have a Facebook page called MOMS, M-O-M-M-S, which stands for A Mountain of Mismatched Socks. And if you buy your book from them, they will give you a permission to use it as often as you need to use it on your virtual visits. I know this one is one person who's done it. I believe the person who's written Santa's Beard has also given permission for us to use it this year in our virtual visits. As I find more of them, and we will start posting them on our Santa Nana webpage as to what books are free and clear so that you don't have to worry about it. The other is your own stories, or ask people such as Leon McBride and Steve Gillum. They have some wonderful stories, the White Feather, the Snowflake stories, and see if they will give you permission to use it. There are a lot of wonderful stories out there, and just be careful. And at least if you say, well, I tried to contact them, I sent them an email. Here's a copy of my email. And they never replied. So I assume no news is good news. At least I think you're partially covered. I can't guarantee that. I'm just saying, be careful and be aware of the fact that certain things and copyrights are,
It's something else to be.
some of the things they go after is just totally ridiculous. But a PTA for showing Pixar going after a PTA at 50 cents a kid for a pajama and popcorn party, this type of thing. So anyhow,
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah.
Go on.
Thanks, Judy. So some of the things, though, there's a whole laundry list. There's decorating the tree. There's cookies and cocoa with the clauses, all of those kinds of things. But a lot of what you're going to do will also depend on the length of the visit. With like Welcome Santa, Talk to Santa, help the new jingle ring, they expect most of the visits are between 6 to 8 minutes. Now, when you have a 45-minute family visit, 45 minutes to an hour, or on Christmas Eve, maybe 30 minutes or something like that, your list of activities has just significantly shrunk. So let's talk for a minute about, how long is a good virtual visit?
I'm thinking 2 to 3 minutes per child.
After the hellos and the how are yous and all of those things, and to have something more, 2 to 3 minutes per child is one thought. What else? What other ideas? Wayne, how long does your dramatic rendition, how long do you take for your dramatic rendition?
Well, I actually have never timed it, of all things. So, but I do take my time for emphasis, except when throw up the sash and etc. That goes a little bit quicker.
Right.
I would think, if I had to guess, just off the top of my head, it would probably be about 6-7 minutes.
Okay. And then wrap that around. That may be the sole activity. Because the other thing that happens, and this is just human nature, our attention span starts to drop. Over a camera, our attention span is not nearly what it is in a face-to-face where there's a lot more stimulation. This is just one-on-one, one-on-one like this. So some people are thinking like, the whole visit being 15 to 20 minutes, accounting for that personal time, one-on-one time with each child, plus photos, plus an activity, plus the greet. The other thing that you want to think about with the visit, and who's gonna start the call? Will you start the call or will the family? That's something, Maureen, that you're going to want to help build in too when you make these arrangements with the families. And something for you, clauses to think about is when that call starts, regardless of who rings, are you going to be sitting there waiting for them? Are you making an entrance? Is it a surprise visit with the family? Do they know you're going to be there?
Can I chime in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what Around the Town Entertainment is going to be doing is when the visit starts, I'm going to have the families have about 5 to 7 minutes just for them to kind of get their hellos. I haven't seen you in a while. Does everyone's mic working? Blah, blah, blah. And then at scheduled time, at contracted time, Santa is going to appear. Ho, ho, ho. How's everyone doing? I have a question though. I kind of was wondering, how would they choose who to call upon to talk to when there's multiple families? Should they go you know, all the kids in the Smith family, and then all the kids in the Jones family, or one in Smith, one in Jones, another one in Smith, another Jones. Like, what are your ideas? What are your suggestions?
Are you talking about not connected families, but different visits with different families?
So like, okay, so for instance, let's say this Zoom meeting, we had 12 families, and Santa is the host, and now he's got to talk to all the kids in each family.
So you're thinking of having all 12 families dial in all at once rather than having
Yes.
12 visits, 12 separate
Yes,
visits?
because that's basically what my Zoom visits are going to be.
Okay.
When you have a family Zoom visit, it probably won't only be one family. It may be, you know, 2 to 12 families, maybe each with one kid or something, you know. So then how does Santa go and say, hey, you know, the Cherry family, Diane, you were a good girl, blah, blah, blah. How do they, like, is it best just to go that Diane, then Tony, and then go to the next family? Or
Well, so, okay, so I have several thoughts with that. That's part of when we get to the mapping of the visit, that'll help to figure out who's first. But if you want to if you're going to have multiple visits and want to keep everybody engaged, and the Cherry family is first, and the Hinkle family is last, the Hinkles aren't even going to be sitting in front of the camera until you're ready for them. So if you want to keep them engaged, I would bounce.
I have a
you're going to
question.
multiple visits.
I have a question. There's always the shy kid. We all know about that. And usually, I mean, on a person to person, that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, we'll come back to you. But if you're doing this with a family to family, how do you work that in? Was that clear?
Yes, that's a really good question. How would your other Claus siblings answer that? Because it's going to be tough to have a timer. Well, I'm sorry, Jimmy, you're shy, but your 30 seconds are up to get started, so I'm going to move on.
I think you can make a note to yourself and say, okay, you know, little Stephen, I will be back with you, you know, and then even make a arrangement where you're talking to the family and you say, would Stephen like for, as soon, after we're at the very end, can I speak to Stephen alone? You know, or type of thing.
Like a very good, that actually sounds like a very good idea.
Well, and sometimes Stephen does better with Mrs. Claus
Yeah.
than Mr.
Oh, of
Claus.
course, yes.
And so I have done
Because she's the
that.
grandma figure.
Right, and I have done that and talked to them and offered, come on, we'll talk to Santa together, kind of a thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think knowing that kind of information, again, you know, the planning, getting that information from the family ahead of time is going to be really important to know, you know, maybe I like the idea too of wherever that child is in the lineup, you know, if he's not ready, she's not ready, then, okay, you know, like, watch us interact with these, watch us visit with these other children, and then we'll be back and check in every now and again. Okay. Good question. These are things to keep talking about as well. If you're all connected with each other and you're all on the same Facebook page or the same Facebook group or a chapter, or have some way of staying engaged, or hop on over to the Santa Nan Facebook page, this is where we want to keep having these kind of conversations and posing those questions. And you'll have several hundred people to get opinions from. So thank you.
I had asked my daughter about what was the one thing where I was just shocked about a copyright thing. Did you know that Marvel comic books actually went after a family who put Spider-Man on their son's tombstone, on their little boy's tombstone? Marvel went after them and sued them for it. So when you say, oh, this will never happen, yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything more horrible than that. But
that is terrible.
That's
disgusting. It happens. And so I will keep searching. I will keep bothering these companies and stuff like this to see if I can get any answers. But so far, I have several inquiries have come upon deaf ears. But I will keep. I'll let you guys know. I'll let Maureen know in this case if I find out anything.
The last idea that I'll share, because I think this is something that could not be done with multiple families. Well, maybe it could, depending on how it's set up. But think about, especially from the Mrs. Claus point of view, but a virtual tuck-in. What, Nora's asking, what the heck is a virtual tuck-in? So think about, and this is an idea that I actually pitched to one of our local hotels, because another Mrs. Claus had started doing it with families, but like a bedtime story or a tuck-in. It doesn't have to be Christmas Eve, go to bed before Santa comes, but the idea that there's this sweet dreams, here's a lullaby, here's a Christmas lullaby, a tuck-in from Mrs. Claus, we're keeping up with you, we know what's going on, Santa's so proud of you, we've got, we're everything ready, but it's kind of like the end of the day, go to bed, sweet dreams. It's a great kind of an idea to design a virtual visit for 5-6 minutes with little Susie or Billy as they crawl into bed so excited because Santa's coming in 3 days.
That is such a good idea.
It's an awesome idea. We thank Darla Bicknell out of Dallas, Texas for that idea. Okay, so let's talk about, keep brainstorming, because I doubt that there's anything that you can't do in person that you can't do over a camera. Now we have to plan with the family. This is where the real work begins, so that this virtual visit comes off flawlessly. You still want to know who's on the call. You still want to know what their good deeds are. You're going to figure out how to get the gifts, to the family that Santa's elves have dropped them off, whether they're on the front porch or in a closet or behind a chair or in the basement or wherever that's already been figured out, and Santa, or through magic, from one camera, and all of a sudden there they are, surprised that the gifts are there. But some of the other things, you're going to figure out what the stories are. But some of the questions that you want to really plan with the family that we don't typically do with an in-person visit is their technology. Is your Zoom compatible with them? Are they going to be sitting on a phone, on a tablet, in their family room, on their smart TV? Or are they going to be passing out, something like that, so that you know how their setup is to help plan it? Do they want other people to join in? If it should be an individual, family, like we said, is Uncle Bobby from Pittsburgh going to be joining in? You want to test your equipment and the family's equipment well before. That was one of your questions earlier. You want to test it before to make sure that you're compatible with that, and that it's the same device they're going to use when you have the visit. And the contractual clause, we wanted to put this out there as something to think about when you put the clauses together, because despite all of the planning and this awesome OBS green screen backdrop that you've got, or the tree that you've put up, and the Zoom that you've got going, there's a storm and your Wi-Fi is gone. And Uncle Bobby in Pittsburgh decides to streak across the camera, and now you've got this incredibly inappropriate image that's been recorded. Think about a contractual clause that if something happens, Wi-Fi goes down, some technology fails you, Judy's brand new HP computer decides to crash and the motherboard, it just isn't, or any of those kinds of things, that you have a fail safe that you will reschedule, You're not responsible for technology, anything that's out of your control. Those are the things that you want to think about to protect yourself and to protect the clients.
Maureen, be sure to let the families know that they're responsible for their own background. We get so used to talking on Skype and stuff like this, we forget about the pile of if it's just a family, you may forget about the fact that you have a pile of clothes to be folded sitting on the couch. And then it's like, oh, for posterity's sake, we have for the next 20 years, I can look at mom's towels over in the corner there.
Mm-hmm.
Or an uncle from some other city who has the Hooter girls up behind him. Or something of that sort, Just remind them that they are responsible for what is on their end in the backdrops that they are going to keep for posterity. We assume they're going to keep these for posterity's sakes, that they can show to their children, remember when. And, they're going to want to pick a nice thing. Kind of the same way they always pick and say, oh, you can sit by the fireplace. We get so used to our virtual talking to everybody that we forget about what's behind this. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to want a Native American backdrop,
And
for
actually,
a family.
that is a good point, Judy, and thank you for bringing that up. And yes, I will make sure, because all the visits will be recorded as well. So having the Hooter girls up in the background.
Yeah, just need to be.
I always tell the story about my grandson who was in one of his classes, and he's a teenager, and they were doing a Zoom class, and nobody thought about the fact that his first grade little brother walked along behind him in his underwear. Broke the whole class up. The class had to finally dismiss early because they just couldn't stop giggling and laughing. So these are things that people have to watch out for. If you're trying to do just a single visit with one person, it's like, just make sure then that you don't have something else going on.
At least his brother was wearing underwear.
Could have been worse. A look at the bright side, right? And that's actually a really good segue too, because when those glitches happen, what are you going to do? Right? If it still goes through and all of a sudden I'm pixelating and now I'm headless and now you see me, now you don't. What is Bernard doing now? Why is he behind? Who is that man behind the curtain? Playing with Mrs. Claus's head, I'm the headless Claus now. So don't let it stress you, because it's going to happen. Right? You were talking about with your backdrop. It's going to happen. And the more technology we have, the more things that can go wrong. Or the more opportunities there are to blame Bernard, which is always good.
Or the Northern Lights.
Yes.
Northern Lights is always mine.
It's always a good one.
That magnetic field that's
So do you
generated.
do you have a list of questions now that you ask clients when you're planning to visit? You're asking, the names and their good deeds. You have all of those things now, right? So what other questions might you add to that list if you're doing a virtual visit?
I always like to ask how many children and their ages.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ask, one thing positive that they've done so Santa has ammunition to talk to them about.
Right.
Do they leave cookies? Do they write letters to Santa? Trying to think, there was something else virtual, because I just thought about all this today that I was putting into my website.
What are they having trouble with in school?
Right.
Like that.
Okay.
I'm
Mike.
still a relatively new Santa, but I've had some decent jobs and things.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm finding that's probably the worst thing to deal with is when these little kids come up and they go, "Do you know my elf on the shelf? And what's his name?" Oh my God.
You know what my favorite answer to that is?
I tell them I have so many out there. It's hard to keep track of them, but Bernard, he's the one in charge of them, and then he reports back to me. But if you're going to be doing these virtual visits, get the name of their elf on the shelf. That certainly helps.
But the thing
And that is one of the questions that I am asking.
But the thing about the elf on the shelf is that the child names the elf. So one of
Correct.
my favorite answers to that, what's my elf's name? Well, of course I know it, but you couldn't pronounce it because it's an elven name. And
Another
so-
Another Santa once told me that, and it might have been Bill, that that's what you call him, but at the North Pole, his name to us is
Yes.
Junior.
Yes.
You know.
Or snickerdoodle
But that is,
peppermint or
it's a good name. It's a good question to ask so that the elf, you know, who kind of comes back and kind of keeps tabs, can do that. So keep that in mind, Mike. Yes. Throw it back on them. You can throw them a curveball. They love it. What other questions might you add? Jack, I'm going to put you on the spot. That's an awesome beard.
oh, let me unmute him.
Yeah,
All right, you
unmute.
can unmute yourself, Jack.
Yeah, unmute Mr. Humphries.
Jack, where are you? Jack Humphreys?
Yes. Let's unmute him.
Okay, he has to unmute himself.
Okay.
I can mute him, but I cannot unmute him. Figure that one out.
All right, what was the question?
Okay, so what are some questions that you now ask the family when you're getting information? What are some new questions that you're going to have to add to your list to make for a virtual visit?
Some new questions. Gosh, I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
I can't think of anything right now.
That's okay. Sylvia. Nope. You need to unmute yourself first. Oh, there you go. Unmute yourself. There you go.
There you go.
But
I see.
what I always need to do is find out the dog or cat's name. Dogs always have to have at least something good for Christmas, you know. So, you know, you have to find out what, you know, Spot or Jingles or whatever the animal's name is. So that would be helpful to know. So you can just throw that in and say, well, now, Johnny, what do you think that Bailey would like for Christmas? You know, and
She heard that.
throw it back on them that way, and then they can say whatever, and you can kind of go along with the fact that you know their names.
Yes.
Jordan, we've kept you quiet. Do you have any comments?
Not on this specific topic, but copyright law. I deal with it on a weekly basis because I'm a tech director at a church.
Wonderful.
The number one thing about Facebook and YouTube is no one's actually watching your videos. There is an automated program that's listening to you. So if you're reading a story, singing a song, and if you were to mess up, say, 3 or 4 words randomly throughout, it might not catch you as quick because it's looking for word
Okay,
rendition.
so it's the same thing as what professors use when they're checking your papers to see if you're plagiarism.
So with us, if we're doing a song, I always say, make sure you do the bridge 3 times, put it in between the first and the second verse.
Wow.
All of a sudden, the computer stops catching us. Now that gets a little sketchy if you're really breaking copyright law, but we have copyright licensing, and there is a way to acquire a vague license that will allow you to do these things. And I'm sure by Christmas, we'll have some type of software available.
That's awesome to know, Jordan. Thank you so much. That's invaluable.
Yeah, same way I would just change the wording a little bit so that my professor would not say.
Exactly.
Great.
Thank you.
And then last, let's ask Tim. Would you have any additional questions that you normally ask a family to find out how it's going to go virtually?
I haven't really thought of it. However, with the reason that we're virtual is obviously because of this pandemic. But I don't want to ask any questions about are they doing okay, or that kind of thing. I mean,
obviously we want to keep it light and airy. Maybe, members in the military, is everybody okay?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's the same basic questions and give it to, and that's why it's an easier transition, I think, than a lot of people might really think about, because it's the same visit, it's just a different medium. And yeah, there are some technology aspects about knowing what software they're going to use, just so that you've got that information, as you can, when can you test it, when can you get together and try this out ahead of the visit. How are you going to handle the gifts? You still ask, are there gifts to hand out? Now you get to come with your ideas about how to creatively have them appear. So still walk through that visit, which is exactly what this next slide is. And just to kind of give you an idea, depending on the length of the visit that you have, map it out. How far ahead are you going to set up and test the equipment? All the way through, if you're going to record it, how you're going to do screenshots. Are you going to do individual shots with each child with the Zoom, or like this with the grid for the whole family? But you want to start to think about, those types of activities. So map it out. You'll know exactly what to do in what order.
Can I throw a question in?
Absolutely.
One thing that I usually can strike up a pretty good conversation with is about sports.
Mm-hmm.
And with this pandemic going on, well, you got plenty to talk about with sports.
Plenty.
I mean, do they miss it? Which is their favorite one?
Great.
What do they think about what's going on? Are you going to be interested in it when it comes back? Do you miss playing it? Because a lot of places aren't playing right now, They're not letting the kids get together.
There's a lot of schools of thought around this pandemic and what to talk about and what not to talk about. And I think we just have to always remember that we are causes, and we are encouraging, and we are positive, and we are not political, and we are not taking sides other than the side of how do we bring joy to this visit. And so I think asking about them that's in an encouraging way, that they're going to end the visit feeling better than when they started. That's our job. That's our job.
And you will be getting a copy of this activity this year that you can count off, right, Deanna? This is what you send on the.
I'm not sure what.
This map the visit. We will be sending.
Yes. This will be in the handout. Yes, that we'll follow up with. So yes, just we're joy givers, joy makers. Okay. So and the other thing, part of the mapping the visit is writing down who starts the call. Whether you do it, if it's a surprise, or if the family will do it. Okay. So moving forward, a little bit.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Quick question, yes.
My question is, how do you suggest doing photographs with Santa? Are they standing up next to the screen in their house, or?
Well, that's a good question. They can, let's say if they're doing it on a TV, you could have, here's Santa and Mrs. Claus, okay, in front of the screen like this. Sorry, my internet is unstable.
You broke up, Deanna.
I know. I just got a message. My internet is unstable. Bernard, stop. But you can do the screenshots. I have to share what Pat DeHaan, he's an Arizona Santa. Here's what he's going to do. He is going to get a picture of the children sent by mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, whoever, ahead of time. He is going to get
okay. Deanna, you're breaking
Deanna,
up.
we can't hear you. So what is he's going to get a picture, if I remember.
Yes.
He's going to get a picture of the children and put it in a frame and have a picture of himself holding the picture of them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Deanna?
Yes.
That's what he was doing with the.
Oh, sorry. Yes. He's going, and then he is going to sign that picture and he's going to mail it to them after the visit.
How, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How, like, so you're saying Santa's gonna hold up a picture of the kids?
He's going to, let me find my notes about how he did that, about Pat's visit.
And then again, what if it's multiple families? So
Well,
each
that's,
family?
if it's multiple families, they're going to have to do a screenshot and then crop the family visit, the family picture. Just
You
like
know,
here, we've got all of these boxes.
Photoshop is coming up with a lot of advertisements on the new and improved and everything else like this. And they have even done commercials where they have shown like multiple screen of like a Zoom chat here. And then each person is like doing some kind of pose, and they are able to put them all together into a group and make a group photo of this. And I think we're going to see a lot of improvements as to how we can do this. The other thing is if you decide to do one where the children, for instance, are standing next to the screen with Santa, remember that unless you hit the mirror reverse on your camera, your right is your left and your left is your right. This is my right hand. This is my left hand. But when you see it on the screen, you're like the opposite. And it can, so you don't want to suddenly point this way and do your Vanna White thing and come to find out everything is over on this side. So it's something to think about when you're doing that, just to be aware of what is happening there. But there are a lot of ways that you can be creative. And I think now is the time to start thinking of creative ways that you can do it and practice with someone and see what you can do to do it. Okay, do you have your information now, Deanna?
I found it, yeah, when Pat was telling us about it. Am I back normal again?
Yes.
Okay, great. So he holds a blank piece of paper that he has superimposed. He has a photo. He signs the photo by Santa of the screenshot, and that's what he emails. So he'll hold a frame and then take the picture. And then the child, I don't think, sees the picture, but he sees Santa filling out an envelope. And then a couple of days later, there's a picture of Santa with the picture of that child superimposed. And so that's their photo of Santa.
So Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
so Zoom allows you to take a picture, a screenshot.
You can do a screenshot, yes.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, your print screen takes a shot, and then you can use any of the embedded photo applications to crop. And you can get just that family or just that child and then go from there. So that'll be like the follow-up kind of work. Okay, great. An important part of virtual visits, and I really would appreciate you sticking with us because there's just so much that we could be talking about. But a big part, just very briefly, is where you're going to do it. We talked earlier, part of your house, and preparing for it. What are you going to wear? And please don't be like some of the newscasters and have your suit and tie and wearing your pink briefs or your shorts or your capris or anything that doesn't quite fit with it. Dress fully, get into character, give them the full effect. And who will be your admin? If you're by yourself, if there's someone that you can have as your sidekick. So for example, Judy and I are tag teaming. She's playing host right now. She's the one who let you in because I can't see that now. But if you have these multiple visits, someone's gonna be late. And you wanna start the visit, you wanna start the conversation, but you're not gonna see that someone's in the waiting room waiting to be admitted. So the other idea is this, part of the preparation and the rehearsing, not just with the equipment, is, but where am I looking right now? Hi, Maureen. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Judy. Hi, Jack. Hi, Wayne.
I've been
Hi,
I've been
Mark.
looking off to the side this whole thing, and it's like, ah, my camera's in the middle.
Now where am I looking? There's your interaction. But human nature is going to have me looking down here at the little boxes where I see your faces. But that's what you see, is what I'm looking at right now. So if you need to put big arrows, you need to put big frame, you need to put Post-it notes to keep your eye on the camera. The other
Although
thing,
not 100% of the time, because at that point it starts getting creepy if it looks like you're just staring.
yes, Judy. The other thing is that I'm having a visit with Tim. I'm not having a visit with Santa. I'm having a visit with Jordan. I'm not having a visit with Santa. Change your name. Zoom has that option. Put that on your checklist. When you sign in, when you create the meeting, you are signing in as Santa, Mrs. Claus, Elf, whatever. You are not Nora. You are not Tim. You are not Jordan. Okay. All right. We talked about that. Let's talk a couple minutes about pricing. Again, we're in strange times. So just out of curiosity, what have your thoughts been outside of going through the agency? But if you would do independent virtual visits, have you thought about pricing beyond what the heck am I going to do? Okay. Jordan, had you thought about that? I don't know if you had a comment. Okay. So let's do a quick poll. Do you think, considering that you're not doing a 45 to an hour long visit, you're doing 6 to 8 minutes, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes tops? You thinking a percentage? You thinking, I don't know how this is going to work out, I won't do anything? Or I'm worth every penny that I get, I'll get the same price as if I was in person? Depends if it's charity.
I'm really curious, you guys, what are your thoughts on this? Because I was struggling very much to try to set prices, because keep in mind, I have to pay you guys, plus then I have to bump it up and I got to make something on it. So your input on this is valuable to me right now.
Jack just said $1 per minute. I kind of agree with that.
So much per minute. The other agencies like Jingle Ring was talking about the way they're working their Santas and Mrs. Clauses, which Mrs. Clauses are still a question with Jingle Ring, but they're going to average $25 an hour for the Santa, but they're charging the family $29.95 per visit, depending on the time of the year. Hello Santa, Welcome Santa are pretty comparable, where it usually averages about $25 an hour, but some of it is like, it's this amount per visit.
Travel, that is one thing.
And then the more visits you can do in an hour, then that's, we don't have driving to do. We don't have as many suit cleanings to do. We don't have gasoline, to buy. But I got to buy a new camera, and I got to buy a green screen. But I don't have to change my gloves between every visit. So
Please don't let them get gray.
You've got your, your pros and cons, and a lot of the we can share some of the feedback from the other webinars that the Santas and Mrs. Clauses are going to do like 50% of what they charged last year for a virtual visit. Whatever it was per hour, they'll just prorate it for that time. Or there are many.
So
Go, Judy. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So Norma Jean is talking about, also when you're talking to family, find out if they have anyone in the military and talk to them about them.
Yes.
But some of your costs are going to be your setup, your equipment. You can do more visits though in 1 hour's worth of time. And then of course Norma Jean mentioned the same thing that you've mentioned, that there's not the wear and tear on your car, and you don't have to travel, and you don't have to pay for your dry cleaning, etc. as much.
And you're going to be visiting with families who may have lost someone from COVID. You may be visiting with someone who lost their business because of the shutdowns. You may have someone who is just still out of work, and communities that have been hit financially. So so many of these things are like, it depends. It depends on the family. It depends on the community. It depends on what the family is able or willing to do.
It become automatic after you had it actually set up and when
So,
to move and all you
I hear someone saying something.
But Maureen, I guess my suggestion for you is to go look and research those other agencies and see what their pricing model is.
I did, and it's scary because, like you said, it's like $20, for like an 8-minute visit. And it's just like $20. Gee, Santa's going to be making, what, $5, $8? Maureen's going to be making $2. So it'll be a very interesting this year, guys. That's all I have to say, and just bear with me. And bear with the pricing, and we're gonna work this out. If I'm undercutting myself, I'm gonna keep an eye on things, and I can always make changes. But you guys are just gonna have to bear with me this year, because it's really gonna be something. That's all I gotta say.
Can I say one thing?
Don't expect to be buying your wife a fur coat this year, okay, for Christmas.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yes, please.
The thing that bothers me about, whether it is $20 for a visit or $29.95 for a visit or whatever, with all the legwork that the Santa would have to do beforehand to call and make sure that they have their equipment set up correctly, and that my equipment would be set up correctly, to end up making $4 for 6 minutes. I'm sorry. I just don't see that. I think we would be better off to do it for free than to get that kind of money for it, because it seems like it cheapens the Santa Claus by taking such a small amount of money for the season. $25 an hour. My God, that's
No, it wouldn't be for an hour. It's for like 10 minutes.
No, that's what the family pays, but it's the Jingle Ring pays the Claus $25 an hour.
That's what I'm saying. $25 an hour.
That's a mall Santa. That's a mall Santa salary.
Hey, wait, just so this doesn't lead to a pissing war here. I made an executive decision. Sorry, guys. I made an executive decision today because I finally put up pricing on my website. And I think, and I hope I don't misquote myself, I think I am charging, up to $60 or $90 for up to, here, hold on. I'm trying to pay you guys like $50. $50. Hold on. I'm going to charge for 20-minute visits, $45, and then for a 40-minute visit, $90. So I'm hoping to give you guys, anywhere from, 25 to, depending on what time it, to $50 to maybe even 60. I don't know. So that's a hard call, and I went up higher than some of these other places, because I'm really trying to get you guys some money. because I know it's going to be a tough year. But, you know, it is what it is, and just know that you're not going to be getting what your normal rate was. Now, I still am offering person-to-person visits. That rate is not going to change. But, you know, we're talking about virtual here, so I won't even distract that conversation. Sorry, Deanna.
No, that's
No,
fine.
no.
These are important conversations to continue having. And then, you know, but also consider that you have more opportunities now because you're no longer bound by geography. You can have virtual visits, especially, I mean, you brought up the military, you know, visiting with the military person if they're overseas or wherever they're deployed. You can advertise and market yourself now in Australia or South America, or what second language you have if you want to reach out, or to another family member. There, you know, this also opens doors. So we'll continue to talk about pricing. This was, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Absolutely.
I have one thought.
Yes.
Can I throw in one thought?
Absolutely.
Please.
It seems like we need to simplify a lot of it. You know, nobody wants to be counting minutes.
Right.
Is there a way to do it? You know, it's this much per visit, period. You know, like maximum 20 minutes, let's say, or something. But it seems like it would be a lot easier to do that with one family, and then that one family can pull up each child as they see fit. But if you've got 12 families on Zoom together, that's a nightmare to me.
Yes,
Because
I
like
agree.
someone said at the beginning, those people are not going to wait around. You know, they're kids here. They're not going to wait around while you do 3 families first and then it's finally their turn. You know, they're not going to be anywhere near the screen. They're going to waste half their time trying to collect the kids again, you know. But it just seems like an amount per visit would be a lot easier than, you know, and you know, it'd be easier to customize it to the family and know that this is the amount and you'll do whatever you need to do with that family that would make them happy, as opposed to trying to count minutes. Just a thought.
Part of the challenge of coordinating that, I'll just throw this out as something else to consider, Maureen, is that if of those multiple families, one family wants Santa to pass out gifts and another family doesn't.
Okay, I didn't even think about passing out gifts, and I really don't even think that's going to be an option. I don't even know. I don't even know how to answer that, because I have not even thought about that. But my personal opinion is that's going to suck up time, which we don't really have. I'm thinking 2 to 3 minutes per child. And that's basically to say hi, call the child up, and you're going to have a questionnaire in front of you. Basically, you know, Susie got an A on her last spelling test. Way to go, Susie. You know, small chit chat, and then call up the next child, Jane Doe, you know, blah, blah, blah.
The expectations are certainly different with multiple family visits.
You know, in the person-to-person stuff that we did in the past, that could be a highlight of the evening, though. I mean, you're thinking of 2 to 3 minutes a kid, and it's going to take too much time to do it. Man, I'll tell you, I've been on visits where practically the 3/4 of the time was spent in letting the kids open their gifts and, you know, and look at them and stuff. I mean, it's for some families that's really important, you know.
Well, then that is something, I'm glad you guys brought this up then, because that is something that I'm going to have to then say to the family, that they're going to have to add more time if they want to open up gifts then, you know, because then so how long do you think you guys per child that would take?
Well, I think what you kind of need to have is a little list in front of you of options for the family, so that you can kind of make, and they might not even know what they want, but you can make suggestions then. Do you want Santa to spend more time with each kid individually? Would you like to spend some time opening gifts? You know, how would you like to do it? You know, let the family kind of decide, you know, because that's kind of how it is on person-to-person stuff now. Anyway, you know, a lot of times the families have some really creative ideas of what they want. You know.
Yeah.
So.
And see, and that's
Otherwise, you are like a mall Santa. You're just going to do 2 or 3 minutes of kids, like a mall Santa. Then, you know, I mean, instead of trying to have a little more of a personal touch.
Right. Not taking away from mall Santas, because that's hard work.
It's really hard work.
Hard
Oh, yeah.
work.
Yeah,
But the family visit, I mean, you're coming into their home, or they're coming into yours. It's another way of looking at it, you know. They're stepping into your world, but yes, and so many of, if it's a home visit, many of those highlights, I agree with you, Jack, David, you're mentioning it, gift giving, but that's something that's however you're going to work it out.
Right.
So Norma Jean is pointing out that one of the pluses to these virtual visits is that we can make family visits possible for some families who are far apart from each other and they're in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can do other things, games, making things. You can come up with dad's upstairs and makes a noise, you know, the thunk, and then Santa says, you know, I think my elves left something up in the bedroom, in mom and dad's bedroom. Can you go get it? You know, and then bring it down. You know, each one, you may decide that once the kids get their presents, that then all chaos breaks loose, and that's a good time to say goodbye. Especially if somebody gets a fire truck with a siren or something. But but I think there's a lot of possibilities that you have to think about, and it's a good thing to have discussions, and it would be a really good thing to, if we could have a Northern Illinois Santa or another this group get together with and just start talking about things. How many of you, just out of curiosity, Skype or FaceTime with your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews or your own children? Is this something that you guys do on a regular basis?
I do it all the time. I Skype and FaceTime with my grandkids when they're playing softball and all the time.
Do you find that the younger ones have a less attention span?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a 20-month-old granddaughter, and she wants to talk to me, and then when they finally get on, she runs away.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to assume that that's going to happen to us with these visits too.
Yeah.
Can I throw something in there at one point?
Please.
Along this line, and also when we were talking earlier about reading and stuff, a couple videos that I made were they were both on books. It was for a vacation Bible school. One of the videos was 8 minutes long, and that was the short one. The long one was 16 minutes long. And I couldn't believe, I mean, I knew it was longer than the first one, but you'd be surprised how you can just go on, and next thing you know, it's 16 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of tested it out on my 4 going on 5-year-old granddaughter. And the 16-minute book, she's falling asleep. You know, that's pretty tough. Probably 8 minutes for a lot of the kids, if they're younger, is really probably tops, you know, like for something of that nature. So I'm just trying to incorporate that into like attention span for kids, you know. It's hard to hold their attention sometimes for any real length of time if they're young, you know.
So Maureen, I have one question for you that I thought of, and that is have you thought of also offering the third option, of which is a pre-recorded message that Santa has that he records, and then it's just given the CD or the USB or whatever, the flash drive, and then it's just given to the family of, hi, you know, I got your letter and I want to talk to you for just a few minutes, George and Helen, and I want to tell you what a great job you're doing. Your elf has reported all these wonderful good deeds that you're doing, blah, blah, blah. It's all pre-recorded, and there's actually no interaction that happens at that time.
Yes, actually, there are 2 types of virtual visits, and it's what you just mentioned, pre-recorded and then the live Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got that covered.
Okay, just
Okay.
wanted to be sure I brought it in.
So in the interest of time, I think we just need to move on because, you know,
Yes.
I just want to be respectful. It's getting late for all of you too, but clearly this is a conversation that doesn't have an easy answer, and it just needs to, you just need to keep talking through that. And do what's right for you and right for the family. Okay, so the last step, number 10, is you're already doing it anyway, sending that follow-up. But the virtual visits, because they're so new, encourage you to ask that question about how that was for them, about the length of time, about the content and, you know, what you did with it, sharing the recordings. You want to do a screenshot for your own gallery to build your own portfolio, to, you know, to add to your own page of, you know, to get permission for that, to update your journal. So it's important to get that feedback from the family, so that if you do another virtual visit with them next year or in July, that you've got some things about that. So that's the quick and dirty on follow-up. And then finally, just to kind of wrap this up, is to be ready ahead of time. If your visit is going to start at 7 p.m., you want to be ready. Gee, how far ahead of time do you think you need to be ready to turn on your equipment? Yes, David. Not at 6:59.
Well, I would think like about 5 minutes or so. You know, I mean, you just to make sure that everything's working. But if you've been doing like a couple in a row and you know everything's working,
You've already got it up there.
Don't need as much lead time, you know. So.
Right. So, but you don't want to be turning everything on 5 minutes ahead of time. I mean, for what we're doing here, we've got this thing ready to go 20 minutes ahead of time. Just so that there's no, and I can shut programs down, anything that's going to compete with bandwidth, anything that's going to get in the way, just so that there's no concerns. But
I
yeah.
had an actual meeting that a business meeting that I had to be in, and I turned on my computer about 7 minutes early, and the first thing that came up was updating, and I'm like, no, not right now. And that computer did not give me the this computer did not give me the option to say no, do it later. Yeah. And that stupid thing had to update all this stuff before I could get into the meeting, and I ended up being late, and I was so angry.
Oh, that's a good.
Just about the time you think, Murphy's Law.
So this is definitely a new world, and it's one that we can let beat us, or we can take advantage and make it work for us and work for the families, because that's what our biggest concern is how do we bring those memories to the family again this year. And virtual visits are a very, very effective way of doing that. And it does not have to be complex. It can be very simple, and just play around with it and practice with each other. Keep asking questions ahead of time, so that you are completely ready. We can take some questions, and before we call it a day for you.
Also, please sign into Santa Ana Holiday University Facebook page, because we try to, we haven't had a lot of discussions lately, but we sometimes get into some very good ones. And any updates that are coming, or our webpage, so that we try to do, and we have, for instance, we have someone who is used to work for a TV station, and he's in the midst of putting together a thing for us on what different colored lights will change for how your actual even on-screen time will, how it will affect, the same way if you were working on a stage and you wanted to, they have the red lights, the white lights, the blue lights, the orange lights that they use for lighting, and how it changes your skin color, how it's going to change your backdrops. Bill has a beautiful backdrop, lots of gold in it. It is rich and gorgeous. And every time we take a picture with it, this is great for still lifes. And every time he takes a picture with it, we have to Photoshop it because his beard turns yellow. There's so much gold in the backdrop. This photographer is going to be telling us different ways of helping prevent that.
Mhm.
And so we invite you to join it. There's no charge. And we love people's input. We
So
love to have.
I know that there was a lot of conversation and a lot of questions, and probably more questions asked than there are answers right now. But going back to the first question that we asked you, which was about your concerns about having virtual visits, and you talked about meaningful interactions and what to do and new equipment and technology. This webinar is really a lot about the what areas to think about with the 10 steps. Are your concerns higher, or have we answered some of your questions and you got a direction to go?
Well, I think you've answered a lot of my questions. Thank you very much for this. I really appreciate it. Both Deanna and Judith. Maureen, thanks for setting this all up.
And we agree. Thank you. It was very helpful and we appreciate the fact that you did this for us.
All right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's our pleasure.
we think it was great too. Thank you.
Well, our main thing is to give you building blocks, not tell you how.
Well, there's a lot to think about, and you know, Judy and I, we did this for a lot of people in the Christmas community, and we just feel, especially because it's so, well, you're hearing the same words over and over again, unprecedented times, and you know, navigating new waters and all of these things. It's just weird right now is what it is. And so if we could do our small part in helping our Claus family, that's what we want to do.
Can I just say something real quick just to close? I'm
glad. Of course.
I'm glad everyone, you know, participated in this video. And like I said, you know, this is to kind of help you guys think about virtual visits and stuff, because I really think that this is going to be the way to go this year, just to keep everyone safe and that sort of thing. I am going to send out an email blast to everyone, kind of letting you guys know what Around the Town Entertainment intends to do, what my year is going to look like, you know, involving you guys and that sort of thing. I have another webinar tomorrow, and then hopefully by the end of this week, I should wrap everything up so that maybe by next week I can pass that out. I just been trying to get my website up and running for virtual visits, and that's been sucking the life out of me.
Yes, it's crazy times.
Well, especially since you're not real crazy about the technology thing anyhow, Maureen. I mean, doing the technology.
And then
Maureen's not exactly on Facebook every day.
And then the other thing is getting my son safely to college.
Where's he going?
We'll talk later, Judy. I don't want to tie everyone up.
That's fine. Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's interesting what they're doing for the colleges. Whole new ball game there too.
Yes. Other questions or comments?
No.
Nope. Really appreciate you sticking through. And by tomorrow, hopefully tonight or tomorrow, you'll get the attachment with all of the information from the slides.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That was very,
very
very
much.
good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys all take
It's
care.
good to see a lot of you guys, people.
I know.
Especially since we didn't have our get together in Bartlett or whatever this